Welcome to Music History Monday for May 27th, 2024. I'm Bob Greenberg, and the title for today's podcast is Inappropriate. If you haven't already, please consider joining me on my subscription site at patreon.com/RobertGreenbergMusic, where I blog, vlog, podcast, pontificate, review, and bloviate 4 to 6 times a week. There must be something in the air. Have any of you done or anticipate doing anything particularly foolish today? Anything particularly inappropriate? If you do, know that you will be in good company. Perhaps it's the angle of the sun. Perhaps it's something in the air or water. Because as dates go, May 27th is ripe with musical stories and actions that we shall deem as being inappropriate. For example, on May 27th, 1964, 60 years ago today, 4 of the 11 16-year-old boys suspended from Woodlands Comprehensive School in Coventry, UK for having Mick Jagger haircuts complied with their headmaster's demand that they cut their hair and returned to school. The other 7 lads put their hair, or at least their allegiance to Mick Jagger, before their schooling and remained suspended. According to an article in the Coventry Evening Telegraph, quote, their headmaster, Mr. Donald Thompson, has said that he would not object if they returned to school with a neat Beatle cut. Mr. Thompson told the Coventry Evening Telegraph today that he was not against boys having modern hairstyles, but he did object to the, quote, scruffy, long hairstyle of the Rolling Stones, with hair curling into the nape of the neck and over the ears, unquote. Thompson's anti-Jagger, anti-Stones, pro-neatly shorn hair decree was handed down about a month after the president of the UK's National Federation of Hairdressers declared that the Rolling Stones' haircuts were the worst of all their rock and roll colleagues. He then added, quote, one of them, no doubt referring here to Keith Richards, looks as if he has a feather duster on his head, unquote. Oh my goodness, how worried everyone was about hair in the 1960s. Was it inappropriate for the parents of those 11 suspended boys to send their kids to school in clear violation of what was a stated hair code policy? Yes, it was inappropriate of them to do so. Was it inappropriate for the headmaster to indefinitely suspend those children at the end of the school year? Yes, doubly inappropriate. At least those boys weren't yet wearing their pants down around their knees, as they might do so today. Triply inappropriate. Speaking of inappropriate, on May 27th, 1977, 47 years ago today, the Sex Pistols released their single, God Save the Queen, in the UK. For those of a mind and an ear to listen, I've attached a link to a video of that performance. Now, if you thought I was going to label the Sex Pistols' song, God Save the Queen, as being inappropriate, you are incorrect. Insipid? Yes. Artless? Surely. Ridiculous? Well, of course. It's the freaking Sex Pistols, for heaven's sake, the lowest, bottom-feeding punkers of the punks. What was inappropriate was the reaction of the establishment to the Sex Pistols' God Save the Queen, and the degree to which that reaction made the song a cause célèbre. You see, after its release, the Sex Pistols' God Save the Queen was instantly banned from British TV and radio stations. Many of the workers in UK record pressing plants refused to even manufacture the record, and many UK record shops simply refused to stock and sell it. We should all know what happens when this sort of spontaneous censorship occurs, and that's exactly what did happen. The single sold 200,000 copies in 1 week, making it the #2 hit on the UK charts, just behind Rod Stewart's I Don't Want to Talk About It. #2 on the charts, pretty good for what amounts to a total piece of musical merde. But certain rumors continue to circulate, rumors that have never been confirmed nor denied, that the Sex Pistols' God Save the Queen was actually #1 on the UK charts, but the British phonographic industry, the trade association that controls the UK charts, conspired to keep it out of the top slot. If true, that would have been most inappropriate. For your information, Music History Monday for February 21st, 2021 tells the sorry and sordid story of John Simon Ritchie, a.k.a. Sid Vicious, 1957 to 1979. Check it out. I dare you. Don't leave home without it. One more short item before we get to our featured story of inappropriate behavior. On May 27, 2009, 15 years ago today, American Express sued the singer, songwriter, and actress Courtney Love, born 1964, for unpaid charges of $352,060. In court papers filed in Los Angeles, American Express canceled all 3 of Love's accounts, including her Amex Gold card, after she failed and refused to make her payments. Love then countersued Amex, claiming that she had been issued 104 cards by the company, cards she asserted she had never asked for. For our information, Love's court documents offered no proof that she had more than the 3 accounts on which she had defaulted. Writes Marlis Harris in Money Watch, quote, "Whoever approves credit would have to have wondered how Love, with all her varied activities, launching rock bands, cutting CDs, writing her memoir Dirty Blonde, designing a line of guitars, breaking her boyfriend's windows, admitting to abusing and selling heroin, cocaine, and painkillers, thievery, making pointedly racist statements, and regaining and losing custody of her daughter. One would wonder, how would she have had time to sit down and fill out 104 credit card applications?" Unquote. Silly rhetorical question. Given her reputation, who gives a gold credit card to Courtney Love? Earth to American Express. Inappropriate. And then the story gets better. On June 25, 2012, Keith Fink, the attorney Love hired to represent her in a number of lawsuits, like the one against American Express, himself filed a lawsuit against Ms. Love in Los Angeles Superior Court, claiming non-payment of fees to the tune of $436,029.32 plus interest. Oh dear. Another silly rhetorical question. Given her reputation, what sort of lawyer allows Courtney Love to rack up nearly $500,000 in unpaid legal fees? A possible answer? the sort of lawyer who has himself been sued 5 times for malpractice, extortion, and defamation. Whatever. Earth to Keith Fink. Courtney Love as a client. Inappropriate. Saatchi and Saatchi. Dr. or Doc Martens shoes, and dead rock stars. Saatchi and Saatchi is a British multinational communications and advertising agency founded in 1970 by 2 brothers, Maurice Saatchi, born 1946, and Charles Saatchi, born 1943. With its global headquarters located at 40 Chancery Lane in London, the company today has a total of 114 offices in 76 countries and over 6,500 staff worldwide. According to the company's website, and we quote, Saatchi & Saatchi is a globally connected, full-service agency that has created fervent communities around the best brands on the planet for decades with one wholehearted belief: nothing is impossible. Unquote. While I respect the sentiment behind that last bit, nothing is impossible, I would beg to invoke reality. It is impossible that I will ever dunk a basketball. It is impossible that I will, at any point in the future, fulfill a lifelong ambition by bedding Gina Lollobrigida. Well, that's because, sadly, she's been dead since 2023. Likewise, it is impossible that I will receive either a Pulitzer Prize or a MacArthur Foundation grant for this post. I accept that, but damn, it hurts. Point in fact, lots of stuff is impossible, and it is the height of folly to pretend otherwise. Saatchi & Saatchi's online branding is couched in just the sort of tiresome binaries that makes me suspicious yet gullible, chary yet credulous, uncomfortable yet cozy. Quote, we are knowledgeable but curious, diverse but united, joyful but hard to satisfy, consistent but experimental, wide-ranging but focused, respectful but irreverent, successful but encouraging of failure, wise but forward-thinking. Unquote. And blah, blah, blah. Senseless hyperbole aside, Saatchi & Saatchi's advertising division can boast a crazy impressive list of clients, a list that over the years has included Procter & Gamble, Gillette, Schweppes, Citigroup, BMW, Sony, Dyson, Starbucks, Toyota, and General Mills. Let us now add to that client list Dr. or Doc Martens shoes. On May 27, 2007, 17 years ago today, the firm of Saatchi & Saatchi was fired by Dr. Martens for running an advertising campaign that went far beyond what Airwear, Dr. Martens' parent company, considered to be the bounds of decency. Here's what happened. Saatchi & Saatchi was hired by Dr. Martens to create an edgy new ad campaign. Someone at Saatchi had what they thought was a great idea, a killer idea for the campaign. Create a series of ads featuring dead rock and roll icons in heaven, all of them wearing Doc Martens shoes. Photos of Kurt Cobain of Nirvana, Joe Strummer of The Clash, Sid Vicious of the Sex Pistols, and Joey Ramone of the Ramones were licensed from the American agency Corbis and then photoshopped. The 4 images Saatchi & Saatchi created are linked. Leaving aside the religious ramifications of a suicide, Kurt Cobain, and a murderer, Sid Vicious, being depicted as having gone to heaven, these images, particularly for the families of those depicted, are just wrong. Clearly, the good people at Saatchi & Saatchi didn't quite understand the difference between edgy and inappropriate, but they did understand that such imagery might ruffle some feathers. So it was decided to test the ads by having them appear on a one-time basis in a small British music magazine called Fact magazine. Unfortunately, according to Reuters, quote, the images were then passed to various U.S. websites by someone at the advertising agency Saatchi & Saatchi, unquote. Various U.S. websites. So much for keeping the campaign, initially at least, on the quiet. The international public reaction to the images was swift and savage, and Doc Martens took the hit. Kurt Cobain's widow, the blousy, credit-challenged Courtney Love herself, was justifiably incensed, screamed bloody murder, and, no surprise, threatened a lawsuit. For David Suddens, the chief executive of Dr. Martens' parent company, Airware, it was a public relations disaster. He instantly went into damage control mode, telling Reuters, quote, I have apologized to Courtney Love and to anyone who may have been offended, as I think the ads certainly have the potential to cause offense, unquote. You think? Mr. Suddens initially disavowed all knowledge of the campaign. Quote, this was never supposed to be an advertising campaign for Dr. Martens, and we did not commission it. Dr. Martens does not want to use dead rock icons in any way for commercial exploitation. The campaign runs counter to our current marketing activities, which are dedicated to nurturing grassroots creativity and supporting emerging talent, unquote. But then David Suddens admitted that while someone at Doc Martens had indeed given permission for the images to appear in Fact magazine, no one at Saatchi & Saatchi had been authorized to release them on the web. For that sin against his brand, Mr. Suddens announced, quote, as a consequence, Dr. Martens has terminated its relationship with the responsible agency, unquote. That unnamed responsible agency being Saatchi & Saatchi. A real poop show, this, for which everyone seems to share some of the blame. Now, in my opinion, this is where Saatchi & Saatchi should have taken the high road by firing whoever leaked the images to various U.S. websites, and by apologizing for a misconceived and admittedly inappropriate ad campaign. But that's not what Saatchi & Saatchi did. Deciding that the best defense is a good offense, Saatchi first reminded Dr. Martens that they had, in fact, not just seen the images, but had approved the campaign to run in Fact magazine. Then Kate Stanners, Saatchi's global chief creative officer, doubled down and defended the ads, claiming that they were meant to be an homage to the pictured rock legends and were in no way offensive. Quote, we believe the ads are edgy, but not offensive. There has been blog commentary both for and against the ad, but it is our belief that they are respectful of both the musicians and the Dr. Martens brand. We regret that the controversy has led Dr. Martens to terminate its contract with Saatchi & Saatchi, unquote. It was only then that Ms. Stanners added that the agency had begun an investigation into, quote, the circumstances, and is considering the ongoing employment of the individual who was in breach of instructions not to distribute the ads further than the original approved placement in Fact magazine, unquote. Some weeks later, someone named Eleanor Conroy, a spokesperson for Saatchi & Saatchi, did indeed announce that, quote, the agency has terminated the employee who breached instructions not to distribute the ads further than the one British magazine, unquote. Well, talk about closing the stable door after the horse has bolted. To my mind, everything about this sorry affair just reeks of inappropriate. Thank you. To sample and download one or all of my many courses on subjects musical produced by the Great Courses / The Teaching Company, please visit my website at robertgreenbergmusic.com.